I know it's early, but it's never too early to look at the top 5 players in the prospect pool. So with a handful of games played so far, who are the 5 guys standing out the most? Before we get started, hit that subscribe button. Do not miss a video. Now, the top 5 players in the prospect pool. If you're new to the channel, you might not really know how I do these things. First off, I guess I should say welcome, and then explain how I do these top 5s. It's not purely anecdotal of me just watching games. I like to base it off stats. It's not the be all and end all, of course. Like, these aren't to say that this definitive, the top players in the prospect pool, but it gives us a good sense of who's at the top and why. And so the stat that I use is NHLe. Now, I compile that on my own because I found that different sites have different measurements for NHLe, and they typically don't combine leagues. So you have players like Calle Odelius, who play for U-Gardens in the Allsvenskan, but also play in the U20 side for a couple of games. I bring that all together in one instead of just relying on the largest sample size, because I could still be missing something quite sizable. And so my NHLe is my own, but it's very much derivative of just NHLe in general. If you don't know what NHLe is, I've put a link in the comments below. Click on that and it'll explain you what that is essentially. The top 5 guys in the Islanders prospect pool as of right now, today, just looking at this season, is Ruslan Iskhakov at 43.8. Youch, that's incredible. Robin Salo, 41. We'll get to why that's like, take that with a grain of salt. Samuel Bolduc, 39.8. Very nice. Alex Jeffries, 20.5. And Aatu Raty, 19.9. So let's talk about each one of these players, what the score means and why it is what it is, and what we've seen from that player so far this year. Ruslan Iskhakov, 43.8 NHLe. As you can see down here, I think I got the reverse image right. Down here, he's really the NHLe's 43.859. So rounded up to a nice 44 NHLe. He's acting with the production he's put up at the AHL level like a 44-point NHL player. Excellent. And of course, that production is 11 points through 8 games of this young AHL season. But he's looking pretty darn good. I did a video just on him yesterday and how close he is to the NHL, so go back and watch that if you haven't. But what you'll see from this graph that I've got in the bottom corner, again, I think I got the corners right here, is that continued growth in terms of NHLe. And while last year there was a step back, perhaps, as you can see with the growth, it was marginal, like minus 0.04 growth last year. So if anything, he plateaued playing in Germany. And to be fair, well, he missed most of the season last year. So that's kind of why. But what are we seeing this year? We're seeing a guy who's absolutely confident and who's playing at the top of his ability. He's being dish smashed in general and isn't scared to take a shot and is using that flex very, very well to get those nice goals from a distance. You don't see guys who are 5'8" score from that far out typically. So Ruslan Iskhakov is doing the damn thing at the AHL level. Keep his name in your mouth. Then we have Robin Salo at 41 NHLe. And I said it before, like, take it with a grain of salt. And that's because we have a 4-game sample size, right? He put up those 2 goals in that one game, so he's on pace to score 41 points at the NHL level. He is not what you would say a 41-point NHL player right now. He's not, because he's not even playing. Right? They could put him in and they choose not to. That's how much they don't like his game right now. And so take this with a grain of salt. That's the problem with NHLe and just basing entirely on one stat, is that it doesn't describe the whole picture. Right? It gives him a 41 NHLe, but he's not playing like it because he's not even playing. So Robin Salo has the potential. We've seen it before. It's just this year is not going well for him. Hopefully he learns the lessons that Lane Lambert wants from him and he can get back into the lineup because there is a spot for him. But as you'll see through the rest of this video, he is sweating. So what do I mean by Robin Salo is sweating? We'll just look at entrant number 3, and that's Samuel Bolduc at 39.8725. Round that up to a nice flush 40. He's acting like a 40-point NHLer with the production he's putting up at the AHL level. Just like Ruslan, 8 games played, but 10 points, which is massive for him because last year he put up 7 in 57. Just the change has been ridiculous in this short time. He's engaged offensively. He's getting pucks on net. He's not scared physically. He's doing all the things they want him to do, and he's doing them well and excelling as we expected him to be last year. There's just, for some reason, was something that set him back. We know there was the injury last year, and that was clearly a factor, but there was probably a little bit more than just that injury going on with Samuel Bolduc last year. Regardless, this year he's stepping up. If there's an injury to the Islanders roster right now, I don't think that they would consider Samuel Bolduc yet, but if this holds through 20 games, and by this, I certainly don't mean over a point per game, but if he's scoring at like 0.6 to 0.8 points per game and looking as physical and as good on his skates as he is right now, you better believe they're probably going to call him up. Entrant number 4 is a guy that doesn't get mentioned a lot, and that's Alex Jeffries. And I don't think that's necessarily fair because this kid has been doing well for a while now, ever since he went to college, right? We've heard his coach rave about him, one of the smartest players in that league. And now the production is really stepping up. He's got 9 points through 7 games for Merrimack right now. You can see through his growth in the corner here that it went down last year, but that's because of an inflated a freshman year, right, where he put up 10 points in 12 games. So his NHLe was a lot higher than it probably would have been flushed out through a full season. So if anything, I think he would have plateaued between his freshman and sophomore year. But now that he's in his junior year, look at him stepping up 9.7 games. He's using his speed. He's driving play offensively and pushing back defensemen. He's getting pucks on net. And he's playing in all situations again. 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, everything. They're using him everywhere. Alex Jeffries is going to be a heck of a player for the Islanders at the AHL level at the very least. I can see this guy breaking into the NHL in like a bottom 6 role, probably third line, really just third line. But it really does seem like NHL is in his future, and I'm really high on this kid. He's number 4 on my list, but he would be number 4 strictly through eye test. Number 5, Aatu Raty. There's not a whole lot we need to say about Aatu right now. We know he's playing well. 5 points, 8 games, and you're going to say, well, that's not as productive as the other guys. Yeah, but he's a couple years younger. Remember, Samuel Bolduc, 2019 draft pick. Iskhakov, 2018 draft pick. That's not the case for Aatu Raty. So he's got a couple years behind on those guys, and he's still putting up 5 points in 8 games. Don't worry about Aatu Raty. He's not coming up right now unless there's like a significant injury or suspension to a center. It's just not happening. And even then, if like, let's say Casey Zizekas would have been suspended the other day because of that hit in Chicago, they would have probably called up Andy Andrioff and not Aatu Raty. Let him develop and mature at the AHL level this year. And if things go really, really, really well, then maybe call him up. But at this rate, he's not coming up, and that's okay. That isn't a reflection of his ability. Now, you'll see that the NHLe has stepped down this year. It is still early. Do not worry one bit. Now, you've seen my top 5, and what I like to do is cross-reference my top 5 with another top 5, or another ranking. It's not even just a top 5. It's a complete ranking of a prospect pool, also using NHLe. Now, slightly different way of measuring NHLe, as you'll see with the numbers here. But the reason I do this is just to see, am I completely out to lunch with my picks? Is my top 5 the top 5 that someone else is looking at? Because if so, okay, then it makes a little sense. Whether the order's a little different doesn't necessarily matter if my 3 is there, 4 or whatever. Are they in the top 5 or close to it? Would make me feel a lot better. So I use the NHL Rank King app. I have it on my phone. I suggest you get it as well. And they allow you to look at prospect pools ranked by PNHLE, and that's projected NHLe. And again, the numbers are a little bit inflated, so don't really get too focused on the numbers per se. Just look at the ranking. And so their ranking for the top 5 prospects in the Islanders prospect pool are Bolduc, Iskhakov, Jeffries, Finley, Maggio. That's their top 5. And so far, I got 3 of those. Right, and I'm not low on Finley or Maggio. It's just the league that they play in. It's diluted for me. They're not in my top 5, but they're not far off either. Aatu Raty is a little bit lower here, right? He's at number 6. And then Robin Salo isn't listed, probably for a number of factors, mainly because he's only got 2 points at the NHL level and he's not playing. So what I said earlier with the whole grain of salt thing is apparent here with the NHL Rank King rankings. So that's the top 5. Let me know what your top 5 in the Islanders prospect pool is and why you've put it the way you've put it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button. And if you have, thank you, thank you, thank you.